And you're live.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. My name is Steve Jaffe. Today's presentation, we're going to focus on how to generate leads from your webinars. First things first, can you see me and hear me okay? If you can see me or hear me and hear me successfully, please put a comment in. I just want to do a quick check here. So please throw a comment in if you can see me and hear me okay. So today's focus is going to be on how to generate leads from webinars. Now, I've got slides I'm going to pull up in just a moment here. What people don't really understand is you can generate a lot of leads from webinars. It's one of the most powerful and underrated lead generation strategies that you could possibly do out there. Okay, starting to get feedback here. Great, getting feedback here from folks that you can see me, hear my screen okay. All right, perfect, perfect. Very good. Awesome, awesome. All right, awesome. So here's what I'm going to do today, guys. We're going to be here about an hour and a half or so, and I'm going to go through some material on why webinars are effective, why they're effective to be using in your business. They're the strategy that I have used to build a multiple five-figure monthly income, guys. Now, you may be aware that we are in the middle of a product launch for a course called Webinar Sales Magic that's going to be starting in early January. I'll give you some information about that at the end of this training today. The focus is to really get into how to generate leads from webinars. A lot of people feel like it's all about just sponsoring and generating sales from webinars, and that's a huge part of the equation. What they don't realize is that whatever lead generation issues you might be having in your business can evaporate when you dial in the strategy to promote webinars, how I will be teaching in the course. So today's material, I'm going to use similar slides to some of the presentations that I have done previously in the last week or so. But make no mistake, if you've been on any of the prior trainings, whether it was last Wednesday night or last Thursday or Friday, I'm going to change direction partway through this presentation and really get into lead generation. So if you see slides that look familiar, maybe you've seen some of them previously, have no fear. We're going to be changing direction and getting into the fundamentals of lead generation. Because guys, I've been able to generate up to 250 leads per day simply by promoting webinars. I mean, it's very, very straightforward when you really understand this. And this is one of the big aha kind of realizations that I had promoting webinars, is I realized not only was it putting a lot of money in my pocket, not only was it increasing my brand around the internet dramatically, not only was it raising my sales conversion ratios for everything I was selling, but I started generating a ton of leads. So let's get right into this. I'm going to start with some basic training on why webinars are important, why you definitely want to have them in your business. It is the one strategy that literally every top producer in the industry uses. Everybody who's a leader, who's earning a full-time income in the industry, we're all doing hangouts and webinars. Not everybody is doing a lot of Facebook marketing or a lot of Twitter or a lot of Instagram, but everybody, whether they're more of a traditionalist, doing a lot of prospecting and belly-to-belly recruiting, or they're more of an internet marketing type, every one of us is doing webinars and hangouts. You will understand why, and you'll understand even if you don't have a list, don't have leads coming in, or don't have a lot of leads, how to use webinars to take everything to the next level in your business so you can literally start to generate dozens of leads every single day. Keep an open mind during this training. I'm very kind of direct in my training style. If I share some things that differ from what you've heard elsewhere in the industry, do not discard the entire presentation because of one or two things. Keep an open mind. Mine works best when it is open like a parachute. It sounds like a cliche, but it's totally true. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with some slides that may look a little familiar. For those of you that have not seen these, this will be totally new material. So stay with us. Grab a pad, grab a pen if you have not done so. Turn off Twitter, get off Facebook, get off Skype, get off your phone. This training that I'm about to teach you, no one teaches. There's very few people who talk about the benefits of webinar marketing and teach how to do webinars. but of the minuscule number of people I've heard in the industry even mention anything about webinar marketing, I've never heard anybody do a training on how to generate leads from webinars. I mean, this is totally novel. This is true innovation, what you're going to see. I mean, you could not do this 10 years ago in this industry. Today, you can generate all the leads you could ever want with webinars. I mean, this is literally the most cutting-edge strategy you could possibly do. I don't know anything else that comes close to this. And there's a lot of really heavy-hitter internet marketers, like seven-figure income earners who are doing webinars who also use the strategies they're going to teach you to generate leads from their webinars. Because let's face it, if you can generate leads from your webinars, even if they don't attend the webinar, you still have their contact information. You can continue to market to them. And if you're just like sucking wind in your business and don't have leads, this will get you out of the woods. So let's get right into it, guys. Now, I've changed out my computer configuration a little bit, and so if for any reason things look a little different than they've been on some of my other webinars, that's the reason why. Just a heads up. So first of all, let's go ahead and I'm going to do a screen share, everyone's favorite. Screen share time! Jaffy's doing the screen share thing. Woo! All right. Webinar lead generation magic. The end result of all this is you're going to generate leads, be able to attract money on command, sponsor many, many reps every month, sell any product or service with a phenomenal way of doing webinars, and as a side benefit to all this, or a primary benefit, depending on where you are with your lead generation, you're going to be generating a lot of leads. Now, what's a lot of leads? I'm talking about, for starters, 2 or 3 leads per day, but quickly getting above 10 leads per day. And when I do a webinar and I promote it on Facebook, and when a lot of the other leaders in MLS people, when we promote one of our webinars on Facebook, we'll get like several hundred leads over a 2 or 3 day period. It's very straightforward to generate like 100 leads in a day, 200 leads in a day using this strategy. You'll see exactly what I mean. So for starters, let's kind of lay the groundwork here, and we're going to get into webinar marketing, and then I'm going to segue into lead generation strategies partway into this training. I'm going to get off my slides and probably pull up a Word document and write down a few things to share with you and talk through with you. So you really understand this, you really get this. Do any of these relate to you? You see leaders doing webinars but feel a little unsure whether or how to do them yourself. You want residual income but don't have the 5 to 7 years required to build a large downline to make it happen. You had a cost-effective way to earn an extra $3,000 to $8,000 a month in your business that was legitimate and generate a lot of leads that would radically change your business. Maybe you've been in learning mode for years and you want to boost your income dramatically. You're ready to build a real business like a top earner if you have a proven strategy that just plain works. Here's my promise to you. I promise to share with you the exact webinar strategy that has allowed me to sponsor 16 to 28 reps per month, generate upwards of $10,000 in 90 minutes, become a top producer in 2 programs, and build a multiple 6-figure income. And guess what? When you do those things, you generate a ton of leads along with that. And you'll understand exactly how the mechanics of that on this webinar. Promise to share with you the exact strategy. Sponsor reps, generate upwards of $10,000 in 90 minutes, become a top producer in 2 programs, and build a multiple 6-figure income. I promise by the end of this webinar to allow you to be able to implement the exact strategy yourself within 96 hours of this webinar. I promise to show you how this strategy will allow you to sponsor all the people you could ever need to become a top producer in any direct sales, multi-level, top-tier, or affiliate program, while also generating a ton of leads at the same time. And finally, I promise you more fun out of life and the ability to provide yourself and your family with everything you want out of life for you and them, and the peace of mind that comes with it. Is that a bold promise? Yes! And I will keep it. Absolutely, I will keep that promise. Stay with me. You'll see. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You see, guys, those of us that are leaders in the industry, when we talk shop, when we talk marketing, we don't really talk about lead generation because we've got that handled, and the strategy that I see more and more leaders jumping onto to handle their lead generation is promoting webinars. A little bit about my background so you know who you're listening to. By the way, if you've seen some of my presentations in the past, you're starting to get a feel for the structure of how to deliver a great presentation. So you can take some notes, and we'll get into all of this, how to deliver a great presentation when the Webinar Sales Magic training course starts first week of January. We've had tons of people pile into the course already. Tons of people. A lot of people very excited. We'll get to that later in the training. This is me and my girlfriend Jamie here at a local football game. I live in Austin, Texas. Now I do trainings on webinar marketing in the industry. Because of my metrics, I get more registrants to my webinars, more people attending, and I close a higher percentage of sales on my webinars than just about anybody else in the industry. I have a lot of students, many students that have gotten trained by me and start to do their first webinars. And they literally, their experience is like, I just did my first webinar and I closed 3 sales and I made $900. It would be very cool to do a webinar and close a bunch of sales, wouldn't it? Right away. It'd be very cool to do a webinar and generate like 300 leads in the process easily and have a ton of those people show up on the webinar and buy stuff. And now you've got all these leads that see that you're doing a webinar. Whether or not they've gotten on the webinar, they know that you're the person doing the webinar, so these leads are a lot warmer than typical leads. That's another reality of this. Very, very powerful. I did a training series for an industry magazine. They featured me on several covers of the magazine. Had a lot of fun, mass persuasion webinars, had a lot of fun doing this training series. How to generate leads here on webinars. Okay, this is one of my specialties, guys. This is why you're here. I was a featured trainer at the Live the Dream event. That's MLSP's annual event. Our last event here was in Austin, Texas a couple months ago. Did a training on webinar marketing. MLSP has done something like 500 to 1,000 live webinars in the last 6 years. And the only person that has ever trained the MLSP audience on webinar marketing is me. And it's because Brian Finale, the CEO of MLSP, he knows my metrics and he understands the kind of results I'm getting. Did my undergrad at Stanford University, did my MBA at MIT's Sloan School of Management. Typically generate between about 25 and 200 leads per day. Depends on how aggressively I am advertising and promoting my webinars. Now you do not need to advertise your webinars in order to generate leads from them. Advertising is one approach we'll talk about, but you can also promote your webinars on Facebook without advertising, on Instagram, and in other ways as well. But here's what your back office for your leads will start to look like. This is a few years ago when I was kind of getting started with webinar marketing. 57 leads in a day. The income results that you can create from webinars is pretty staggering. It is the highest converting sales medium in the entire industry. I'll talk about why that's the case. You will get more sales from webinars than you will from just about any other strategy out there. The only strategy, you'll get more sales from webinars than you will from sales videos. You'll get more sales from your webinars than you will sending that traffic to a sales letter. I'll talk about why that's the case. Webinars will convert your traffic into more sales than any other strategy. The only strategy that really can match it is selling from the stage at a live event. Here's an example, $297 and $497 commissions primarily. These are typical price points for webinars. I'm a top producer for MLSP, one of the all-time top producers. Jump around on the leaderboard, sometimes disappear off the leaderboard if I'm kind of promoting something else for the moment. Member of the month for MLSP out of 100,000 affiliates in summer of 2013, a great honor. Number 3 all-time for leads generated for another program out there. Look at this list. You've got Brian Finale on here, Jay Kubasek, Jonathan Budd, Traction Marketing Formula, that's Fernie Ceballos, Kimball Roundy, Lifestyle Marketing Group, Aaron Rashkin. If you don't know these names, this is like a who's who list of internet marketers in this space. And I'm number 3 all time, above a lot of great leaders. Not to take anything away from them, of course, but just to give you a signal, I've got this lead generation stuff really dialed in. One of the instructors for Better Networker, a social media site that trains home business owners alongside other great leaders like Brian Finale, Diane Hockman, there's me, of course, Lena Bjorna, Ray Higdon.
Get great feedback from my webinars. This is kind of feedback that you want to get. Best training I've ever had in the industry for 7 years. One of the very best presentations I've heard in the 14 years I've been in this profession. My mind's now officially blown. What a presentation. It would be very cool to get feedback like this for your webinars, wouldn't it? And it would be very cool to generate a lot of leads knowing that those that are actually on your webinar have this kind of attitude towards you. Those are very warm leads. So the ones that attend your webinar are like red hot. And the ones that don't, they still see your emails that you're doing, hey guys, we're doing this webinar. They still see your promotional emails. They still see that you are the presenter, and that rubs off on, that signals your authority, that you're the expert. And the fact that you are doing webinars yourself, or you're promoting webinars, shows that you are somebody who's there to help them, and that will warm the leads. I want you to understand, by the way, that webinar marketing is a strategy for newbies. It's not just for experts. It's not just for leaders. One of the misconceptions about webinar marketing is you have to be some sort of expert to do this. You absolutely do not, particularly when you see the strategies I'll teach you on this training. And there's a lot that I teach for people that are kind of fearful about doing their first webinar. This is normal, and I've got strategies that I teach so that you will be rock solid. Those feelings will go away. You're basically about 3 weeks of training by me from never having any fear of webinars ever again. Okay, so don't even let that worry you. If you're like, I don't know, I've never done this, I don't know if that's me. That's a non-issue. Most of my students have never done it before. They might be a little fearful. I've got a lot of strategies that I'll teach you that literally eliminate those types of feelings. Because at the end of the day, guys, what is a webinar? You're basically just sitting there talking into your microphone, right? And you have a voice. Anyone can do that. It's just kind of getting over that hurdle of like, ugh, getting out there. And I've got strategies dialed in to help you with that. Great feedback from Brian Finale. Jaffe's legit. Everyone will do a great service to get on here. Let's learn some of his tricks. The dude is killing it on webinars. Steve Jaffe's just a phenom when it comes to automating webinars. Now, my business is growing very, very rapidly. I have a lot of people that have been piling into webinar sales magic. These are people who are going to be on the leaderboard at MLSP within about a month or so of being in the course. It'd be very cool to be on the leaderboard at MLSP or in any opportunity that you're promoting simply by getting trained with the training in webinar sales magic course starting in early January. My business is growing very, very rapidly. Very, very, very rapidly. A lot of customers coming on board, a lot of people reaching out to me to get trained. In exchange for taking time out of my day to train you, I ask for you to stay totally focused. Shut off your phone, get off Twitter, get off Facebook. Stay with us straight through the end of this presentation. Those that are here straight through the end will have the opportunity to always have warm leads flowing into your business very easily who are biased to buy stuff from you. It's not just that you'll generate leads with webinars. These people are abnormally predisposed to buy stuff from you, and I'll explain why later in this training. These are some of the highest converting leads that you could possibly ever generate. Stay with us. Those that are here straight through the end have the opportunity to capitalize on this. Now, when I got started in home-based business, I was not always this successful. I was working in corporate America. I was living in New York City, working for GE, General Electric, after business school. I had an hour-and-a-half commute. I would run to my train at 7:30 in the morning, and I'd get home at like 8 or 9 at night. Right? I was young, just got out of graduate school, and I was like, man, I have no life. And I looked for a way out, and I found network marketing. And someone drew some circles on the board, and I thought, well, shoot. I just need a bunch of circles below me, and I'm in business, right? And you know how that goes. So I sponsored a couple of friends and some family members, sponsored some people I met out and about, got my check to about $200 a month, could not get it to grow any bigger. People were falling out of the business just as fast as we could bring them in. And I really struggled, and it was frustrating, and I felt like, how do I get this going? And I realized that I needed to get trained by some professionals on how to build this the right way. And I looked online, and I found MLSP. And I started generating leads, and that made all the difference. Generating leads made all the difference. Eventually, I learned how to turn those leads into sales with webinars. I started showing up on leaderboards. But learning how to generate leads consistently, 20, 30, 40 leads per day, is when I turned the corner and I started making some solid money. What really took that from solid money to really major money, like north of like multiple 5 figures a month. I went from ground zero to having my first $30,000 a month in 6 months. And I did it by doing nothing but promoting webinars. Let me say that again. I went from ground zero to having my first $30,000 a month, and I did it doing nothing but promoting webinars. I wasn't even promoting an opportunity. I mean, I didn't do a product launch. It was literally straight up webinar marketing. And my list exploded. It exploded. I just started generating a ton of leads. So understand, there's absolutely a way forward here. Everything that you've been going through will serve you. If you've been confused about what direction to go in, you're simply trying to find out what the business strategy is that's the right fit for you. If you feel like you've been wasting time with no results, I get it. I felt that way. Really, you're willing to sacrifice for your family and your future, and that's honorable. If you've been suffering from information overload, getting hit with invitations for webinars and hangouts and opportunities and trainings and emails and all this stuff, you're a sponge. You want to soak up the right knowledge to have when the right opportunity comes along. Understand there's a silver lining. Being a home business owner and entrepreneur, you are stepping apart from the pack. It is a noble path to build your own business from home. And when people, maybe you've been getting, oh, are you still doing that thing? Maybe you've been a little embarrassed. You a millionaire yet? Harriet, he's still doing that thing, right? Not being a little, cartoonish about it, but, this stuff really happens, right? I've had relatives that were like, oh, you're doing one of those things, Ha 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 ha. Guys, what's really going on is you want what's best for your family. You're willing to take the risk to provide for them what you know is best when they might not know what's best. And here's the deal. When people point the finger at you, it's not about you. What's really going on is often, and I would say 99% of the time, what's really happening, what people don't realize is when someone points the finger at you for starting your own business and has this, looking down on you kind of an attitude about it, what's really going on is these are usually people that have a job, or maybe they're between jobs and they want a job, but their focus is job. They have not ever stepped outside the lines to start their own business. And it's a lot easier for people to just judge others and temporarily lower other people's self-esteem so it can elevate their own. It's a lot easier to do that and throw rocks at people than to actually step forward, have the courage to start one's own business. Not everybody is in a position that you're in. Not everybody has what it takes. Not everybody. It's not that they're bad people, but they may not have decided that starting a business is right for them. They may be afraid. And a lot of times people aren't willing to admit that they're afraid, so they'll point the finger at you, try to temporarily lower your self-esteem so it kind of makes them feel like it's elevating theirs. But what's really going on is that's their issue. That's their issue. So don't let anyone else's issue impact your own mentality, because somebody else has not made the decision. Somebody else doesn't really see the path for them as starting a small business, a home business, that time freedom is not something they want to focus on. Being home with their kids and all that is not where their head is. Don't let somebody else's mindset and decision and lack of understanding of what's possible for you impact you at all. You've got to get beyond that, guys. And it's okay. If you have not been successful in your business, it's not your fault. You just haven't been shown a path that's the right fit for you. Webinars have the highest sales conversion rate of any sales medium. Let's talk about webinars, because to understand how to generate leads with webinars, you've got to understand why webinars are effective, and you've got to be promoting webinars in your business. So to give you the business rationale to promote webinars at all, which is the requirement to generate leads with webinars, let me talk you through why webinars are so effective in your business. And here's the core of it. Webinars have the highest sales conversion rate of any sales medium. Webinars will convert into sales and signups more effectively than sales letters, more effectively than sales videos, and similar to selling from the stage. Selling from the stage is, hey guys, I've got more for you. You know, you're at a hotel meeting, there's somebody up on the stage, I've got more for you. Those of you that are interested, go to the back of the room, you know, for $997 or $297 or whatever it is. I've got 20 spots for 20 of you for my coaching program, and people literally run to the back of the room to buy. You can emulate this with a webinar. This is a very big deal. Here's why, and here's a big reason why you can pile people in to your list, how you can generate a lot of leads with webinars. Webinars are a scheduled event. Scheduled event. They're not interruption marketing. Interruption marketing is you're on Facebook, you see an ad, you click the ad. That's an interruption to why you got on Facebook. You got on Facebook to go through your news feed, get updated on what's happening in your news feed. If you check your email and click a link in an email and there's a sales video, that's an interruption. That's interruption marketing. You got onto email not with the intention of watching a sales video, but you got onto email to check your email. That's interruption marketing. It has a role in internet marketing, but understand it has a very different impact than a scheduled event. Scheduled event is it's on your calendar. And the nature of scheduled events is, here's the kicker, we consider things that are scheduled on our calendar to be more important than other things. We consider things on one's calendar, on our calendar. We consider what's on our calendar, things that are scheduled, to be more important than other things. We only put the most important things on our calendar in the first place. That's the nature of scheduling an event. On our calendar means we consider this more important. And we're basically telling ourselves the second you make a mental note of the time, you put it on your calendar, literally or figuratively, or you just remember the time in your head, you're basically telling yourself this is more important than other stuff. You are not scheduling the moments when you drink a sip of water. Right? If you have to put your shoes on in the morning, you don't schedule a time to put your shoes on, you just do it. In contrast, there's other events that you do schedule, you consider more important. The last wedding that you attended, you knew exactly when that wedding ceremony started. You were not running to the ceremony. If it started at 6 p.m., you were seated by 5:45, the latest. You weren't, rushing to get to that wedding ceremony at 7 at night. What happens is when people get a webinar onto their calendar, they give it heightened attention. They consider it more important, and then when they get onto the webinar itself, they do so with heightened attention. You can emulate this effect where they have in Las Vegas, in casinos, where there's like no clocks on the walls, people are simply focused on gambling, right? They want you there, focused on being there. On a webinar, people feel like time is suspended, your information is the only thing that matters. You can get your audience into a captive state. If you send that traffic from an email to a sales video, guess what? You'll have about 90% drop-off on that sales video. You will have 10% of the people watching straight through the end of that sales video. Okay, we've done a lot of testing to track this. The retention rate on a sales video is only about 10%. And they've got to stay on that sales video in order to see the offer and buy. In contrast, a well-structured webinar using the 25-point webinar presentation blueprint, that's cookie cutter. It's like step-by-step that newbies use, my students use, to create their presentations, which is what I use. When you use my webinar template, if you will, and you do it correctly, you should expect 70% to 90% of the people on your webinar to stay straight through the end to see your offer. Now that's a dramatic difference. You get 10% retention on a sales video that see your offer. You get like 70 to 90% of the people on a webinar to see your offer. That's a huge difference. That's a huge part of why you get much higher closing ratios on a webinar than you do from a sales video. You can craft an experience on the webinar to impel your prospects into an emotional state where they're open and ready to buy. They can see your face. When you throw up your webcam, they hear your voice. They know it's a real person. All of this engages them and keeps their attention. You get to educate your prospects on everything they need to make an informed decision because a webinar allows you to deliver a presentation of between 1 hour and 2 hours. Could be 90 minutes, could be 2 hours, could be 60 minutes. If you think about a sales video, it's usually like 20 minutes. If you think about a sales letter, very few people are going to read the entire letter. You'll have huge drop-off rates. Again, it'll be like only 10% of the people actually end up reading the whole thing. So you not only get a huge percentage of people staying through the end of your presentation, these presentations could be an hour, 90 minutes. You get to deliver a complete presentation. People will perceive you as an authority. The very act of doing a webinar yourself will give people will get people to see that you are there to assist them and provide coaching and training. Maybe not coaching, but training. That's what the webinar is. It's training. And the fact that you are the presenter will rub off on you, and they will regard you as an authority. The person who does the presenting is regarded as the authority. And this will have beneficial effects in your business, whether or not they actually register and attend the webinar. Here's the thing, even if you're promoting webinars that you are not conducting yourself, if you're promoting MLSP webinars or my webinars, you can promote other people's webinars and generate leads from doing that. I'll explain how later on this presentation. I'll show you mechanically how you do that. Now in doing so, when you promote a webinar that's not even your own webinar, what's going to happen, guys, is your prospects are going to regard you as someone who is there to help them. See, in home-based business, never forget that 99.9% of the people in the industry are basically jumping up and down, cramming their opportunity down everyone's throat. Right? This is what happens in this industry. People put up Facebook videos about how excited they are about the opportunity they just joined, and they send emails out if you're interested in making extra money and this kind of thing. And unfortunately, the net result of a lot of these strategies is a lot of people jumping up and down about their opportunity, basically just going on and on and on about their opportunity. And what happens is when you send a lot of emails that are just promote your opportunity, eventually people will tune you out because they're either going to be interested or they're not. But in contrast, you can be very aggressive promoting your webinars and promoting other people's webinars because it's positioned as training. And when it's training, they're very open and receptive to that. They're not going to tune that out. And when they see you sending emails instead of cramming an opportunity, sending emails that promote a webinar, instead of cramming your opportunity down their throat at every moment, they're going to start to stand apart. And they're going to start to see, wow, this person's actually sending me pretty useful training webinars. And they're not just cramming an opportunity down my throat at every moment. That's going to help you. Right? It would be very cool. It would be very cool if simply promoting webinars generated you a ton of leads and also boosted your personal brand and the authority that you have. That'd be really, really powerful, wouldn't it? This is going to increase sales of everything that you're selling in your funnels. Now, an automated webinar, it's good to know about what an automated webinar is while we're talking about webinars and lead generation. An automated webinar is a webinar event that appears to be live but is in fact a recorded webinar. It's not merely a recording of a live webinar. It's not merely, hey guys, sorry you missed the webinar, here's the replay. That's a replay. An automated webinar is a webinar that appears to be live but is in fact a recorded webinar. And this has powerful implications for lead generation, which I'll get to in a moment. But for starters, let me talk to you about why automated webinars can add a lot of value for your business. Automated webinars create large commissions. The optimal price point for a webinar is $197 and up. You should be selling an offer at $197 and up, not like an ebook for $30 or a trial membership for $10. Trust me, you'll make way more money. People think that, oh, if I sell a $10 offer on a webinar, I'll make more than if I sell a $297 offer. Because it's a lower price, I'll get more sales. Not necessarily. I've tested this, not necessarily the case. What can happen, guys, is when you deliver a 1 hour or 90-minute presentation that's solid and they're ready to buy, and then if you serve up a $10 offer or a $30 offer, some of them are going to be like, why is he selling me a $30 offer? Like, we've just been here for an hour and a half. Like, couldn't you just send me a video? But when don't confuse lower price point with higher conversion rates. It doesn't necessarily work that way. They're going to be ready to buy if you do this the right way in many cases. And the price point that that's going to optimal optimize your revenue is that $197 and up. I typically focus on $297 to $497. So understand that you can expect to get 15% to 25% closing ratios if you do this the right way of people on your webinar into products $297 and up. And if you try to sell a $10 offer, you might end up with 12% closing ratio. You might end up with the same closing ratio, but you'll make 1/10 of the money. And even newbies, you can sell your opportunity. It doesn't matter. You get the perfect. So an automated webinar, we're talking about large commissions, significant commissions of $300 to $500 and up from the automated webinar. You get the perfect message every time because it's a recorded training. It appears to be live. You get all the high conversion ratios, but it's not like a live webinar where you might use different words each time. You might have different energy level each time, so your closing ratios will change. Your closing ratios will be very similar every time with an automated webinar. This is passive income, whether or not you have a downline. This creates time freedom. Automated webinars are really the crown jewel of home business. And what's cool about an automated webinar is you can promote it like every day in your funnel. So you're generating leads every day. What automated webinars allow you to do is have an event that you can promote basically every day. Every day. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on automated webinars on today's training, but understand that here's the kicker. Every single registrant for your webinars can become a lead. Here's the thing to really understand, and I'll unpack this and get into more details about the mechanics a little bit later. But the way you generate leads from webinars is you have every single one of the webinar registrants simultaneously added to your autoresponder on autopilot. You get every one of those leads automatically added to your database of leads. Every one of those registrants to the webinars also, because you're getting their name and email when they register for the webinar, you have those added to your autoresponder automatically. And you can continue to email them. They volunteered their name and email. You have permission to follow up with them. Very, very powerful. I want you to understand the revenue potential of webinars, because again, to maximize, to really get a lot of leads from webinars, you've got to be promoting webinars. And an important factor in your decision to start to promote webinars is to understand, is to get clear that you can make a lot of money from webinars, a lot of money. Here's some results that I generated with an automated webinar. I created a 1-hour automated webinar to pitch a $297 product called Tube Traffic Mojo. Tube Traffic Mojo. This is a course on YouTube lead generation. The product that this webinar sells is a course on how to generate traffic and leads from YouTube. It's a $297 course, pays out a $297 commission, minus a small transaction fee. I have tremendous credibility selling this course because I generate over 10,000 leads on YouTube. And this is perhaps the best YouTube training course in the industry. So I created an automated webinar to sell this course, and every time somebody registers for the automated webinar, they get added to my autoresponder as a lead. So I'm generating leads from this automated webinar. So I created this 1-hour automated webinar and sell this course, this product, pays $297 commission minus a small transaction fee. I sent traffic straight to the webinar registration page, not a standard lead capture page. These are cold leads from the internet. Okay, it's not like these people were already on my list. I'm literally generating leads from the internet who are simultaneously registering into this webinar. At the end of the webinar, a button appears they can click to buy. And of people that buy this course, many buy on the webinar, some buy after watching the replay. I've moved thousands of registrants through this funnel. This is an old slide. It's very good data. It's now thousands of registrants. 21% attendance, 82% staying on the webinar until the end of the webinar. Now, I get higher attendance ratios today than I did when I created this automated webinar. I'm just showing you these were my results initially. They do a lot these days where I get more like 40, 50, 60% attendance on my webinars. But I want you to see, even with 21% attendance, how potent promoting an automated webinar can be just from a revenue standpoint. Because again, it's important that all your activities be profitable. It's useless to just generate leads if you're not making a profit. You've got to be making a profit at the same time. 14% of attendees buy the $297 offer, 21% to 10, 14% buy. That's 1 out of 7. That is huge. 21% to 10, 14% buy. You do the math, multiply those. That's 3% lead to sale conversion rate. So for every lead, out of every 100 leads, 3 of them buy the $297 offer. This is monster. 3% is monster. Here's why 3% conversion ratio into a $297 offer is so unique. When you understand how much money you can make from webinars, you are going to want to get started right away promoting webinars to generate leads and make money. Most people average between 2% and 3% sales conversion ratio into a low ticket offer. This is a course or offer that's priced between $25 and $100. And for every 100 leads, most people will only get about 2 or 3 of them to buy an offer that costs like 50 bucks. If you were to promote to your list a $297 offer, typically you'll get, for every 100 leads, you might get half a sale to 1 sale on average. So for every 200 leads, you might get 1 to 2 sales. Standard conversion rates from lead to sale for a $297 offer is 0.5% to 1%. My conversion rate is 3 times to 6 times higher than average than standard for a $297 offer. This is because I use a webinar, not a video sales letter. This is so critical to understand. It would be very cool to get 3 to 6 times the standard sales conversion ratio simply by promoting a webinar rather than a sales video or a sales letter. Well, let me tell you something. When you are making good money promoting webinars, that provides the fuel to grow your business, to promote more and more, so you can scale from generating 5 to 10 leads per day from webinars, generating 50 to 100 leads per day very rapidly. The typical funnel, let's walk through the math here. I want you to see apples to apples, how much more revenue you can make when you promote webinars in your business. Typically, people will lead with a low-ticket offer that costs below $100. It could be an MLSP membership for $50 a month. It could be an ebook. And then typically people will upsell their opportunity, their business opportunity, to their customers that have bought this low-ticket offer. Let's do the math. Assume that 3% buy the low-ticket offer. This is typical what I see for people in the industry, to get about 3% of people to buy their low-ticket offer in their funnel. A funnel, by the way, I've been using that term, is just a sequence of marketing pieces. Assume you earn $75 in revenue and commissions for every sale of the low-ticket offer. If it's an MLSP membership, you earn $15 per member per month. We'll stick around for 3 months or so. You'll make some other sales from MLSP on the side. It'll all add up to about $75 or so. This is sort of typical revenue when you sell a low-ticket offer. Assume that you sponsor 15% of these low-ticket customers into your opportunity. It is much easier to sponsor customers rather than cold leads. Customer has signaled a willingness to pull out a credit card and buy. Much easier to close customers than it is leads. This is why we recommend that you promote your opportunity to customers, not just cold leads. 15% conversion from customers into your opportunity is pretty typical in the industry. Assume your opportunity pays $60 per sign-up on the front end. By the front end, I mean, if you're in an MLM, for example, network marketing opportunity, typically when you sponsor somebody, you will make an upfront bonus of between $30 and $80. This is not the residual income that takes 3 to 7 years to build. I'm talking about the upfront income. There's typically a commission that the company will send you. It's called the Quick Start Commission or Power Start or Fast Start. That's what we're looking at. It's about $60 per sign-up typically, and this I know from talking to a lot of my customers and asking about how much they earn when they sponsor somebody. So let's do the math, see how much you're going to make with this type of sort of standard scenario. Assume 200 leads that you generate. You close 3% of them into your low-ticket offer. That is 6 sales. You gross $75 in commissions on those 6 sales. That's $450. You sponsor 15% of these people in your opportunity. That's 0.9 signups. Added up, you make $50 from your signups. Add it all up, that's $504. Now I'm going to get into detail on the mechanics of how you actually physically generate leads from promoting webinars. I'm just kind of setting the stage here so you understand the power of webinar marketing for starters. We will get to that. We'll get to that nitty-gritty about how do you actually generate the leads from the webinars. Typical $504. $504. Now let's look at what happens when you tack on a webinar funnel on the front end. Suppose that instead of driving the traffic straight to a standard lead capture page, you send the traffic to a lead capture page that is a webinar registration page for your automated webinar. So you swap out the standard lead capture page and you swap in the registration page for the webinar. And suppose the automated webinar sells a $297 offer, pays out 100%, and then you upsell your opportunity to customers just like before. Assume that 3% buy the $297 offer that pays out 100%. Where do I come up with 3%? Those are the results that my automated webinar funnel creates. Assume that 3% buy the low-ticket offer, just like before. You do not lose out on the opportunity to sell the low-ticket offer when you front-end your marketing funnel with a webinar. You can still do that. Assume you earn $75 per sale on the low-ticket offer, just like before. Assume 15% of your customers join your opportunity, just like before. Assume your opportunity pays $60 per sign-up, just like before. In other words, every assumption is identical to the prior case, except we have added on a webinar funnel on the front end of your funnel. That's the distinction, and in doing so, that is going to provide a distinction in how much revenue you create. It's also going to signal much greater authority, etc. Let's do the math again. Assume generate 200 leads, 3% buy the low-ticket offer just like before, that's 6 sales just like before, $75 of revenue per low-ticket sale, $450 in commissions just like before. Now, assume 3% buy the $297 offer, that is 6 sales, you make $297 per sale, that's $1,782. That's the kicker. 15% you sponsor in your opportunity. Before, check this out, before you had 6 customers, sponsor 15%, that's 0.9 signups. Now you have 12 customers, sponsor 15%, that's 1.8 signups. You just doubled the number of people you sponsored. And, okay, you make $108 from those from sponsoring. And check this out, when you add it all up, driven by the huge revenue pop you get from the automated webinar, $2,340 of revenue. $2,340, guys. Exact same traffic as before. Check this out. $2,340 from 200 leads is about $11 of revenue per lead. You're grossing about $11 of revenue from every lead. Now, you can generate leads. You can promote your webinar on Facebook and get webinar registrants from paid advertising on Facebook for about $5 per registrant on average. That's a good rule of thumb, around $5 per registrant. So if you get really good, you may be able to generate registrants on Facebook for more like $2.50, $3, $4, but figure around $5 per registrant. Now, every one of those registrants will also become a lead. They will automatically get added to your autoresponder. So effectively, you can advertise and get leads for $5 a lead on places like Facebook and then gross $11 of revenue from every lead with this type of funnel. Now, if you spend $5 to generate a lead and you get $11 back, recognize that you can then take the $11, right? If you spend $5, let's simplify the math. Let's say for every $5 that you spend, you get $10 back. In fact, you get more like 11 in this example. But let's simplify the math and say you spend $5, you get $10 back. So you can make the math a little easier to understand the concept here. Well, you spend $5, you get $10 back. You take that $10 that your marketing created and you reinvest that into advertising. Again, now you get $20 back. It's an automated webinar, guys. It can literally run every day. You take that $20, you reinvest it, now you get $40 back. Take that $40, reinvest it, you get $80 back. Take that $80, reinvest it, you get $160 back, etc. It's not hard to see that if you were to start with, instead of $5, more like $50, spend $50, get $100 back, invest $100 into ads, get $200 back in gross revenue. Reinvest $200 into your advertising, get $400 back in gross revenue. It's not hard to see how you can build up an ad budget of spending $1,000 or $2,000 a week. Right? People freak out about spending money on ads because they're afraid that they're going to lose the money. But if you started conservatively spending a few bucks on ads and your funnel was converting, you could reinvest it and grow that to the point where you were spending $1,000 a week on ads and getting $2,000 back every time you did that. You start to see the big picture here, guys. When you're generating leads for $5 a lead and you're spending $1,000 a week on ads, that's $200. That's 200 leads a week. That's 200 leads a week. Now, you don't go there overnight, but I'm showing you, I want you to understand big picture. The concept here is when every registrant becomes a lead, all you need is a webinar funnel that makes you more money from revenue than you're spending on your ads. Then you can scale this to the moon. This is how you build a business that will generate you more than $10,000 a month quickly. Now, you don't need to spend money on it. You don't need to advertise. You could generate leads for free on YouTube or with a blog. I mean, that's what I did. I generated leads with YouTube. You could do that. Or you could straight up promote your webinar. I mean, you can promote your webinars, guys, straight up on YouTube. You can promote your webinar straight up on Facebook without ads and target your existing audience. You could get your YouTube videos showing up in the search engines that promote your webinars. And if it's an automated webinar, you have perpetual leads and perpetual income coming in on autopilot. Now, don't you? This is one of the most progressive strategies in the industry right now. It absolutely is. The typical funnel is going to get you $500 up front. The automated webinar funnel nets you $2,300 up front. The automated webinar funnel is 5 times as profitable, plus it doubles your opportunity signups. $2,300 versus $500 from the same effort. Do you want to make a lot of money or a little money? Do you want to generate a lot of leads or next to no leads? Very, very powerful. By now, you see how important it is to start using webinars immediately. Immediately. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off my slides. I'm going to show you some of the mechanics. I'm going to talk through some of the mechanics of how you generate leads with webinars, and then I'm going to share with you some more content here, and then we'll tie a bow on this. I'm going to hop away from my slideshow here for a moment. And let's do this. Let's go. I'll make this text bigger in a sec, guys. I know it's microscopic. How to generate leads from webinars. Let's talk about the mechanics. Understand, first of all, every webinar registrant automatically added to your list. This is the concept. It's get every webinar registrant automatically added to your list. Well, how do you actually do this? Here's what you do. Use a webinar platform Let's make this a little easier for you guys to see. Okay, what you want to do is you want a webinar platform and a registration page that adds every webinar registrant automatically to your list. And I'll give you a little more color on what that all means in a moment here. You want to aggressively promote your webinars. I'll talk about how to do that in just a moment here. I just want to write this down for you, and then I'll talk through these talking points. And then if you're promoting someone else's webinar, promote your lead capture page. Then promote webinar on welcome page. So if you're scratching your head wondering, well, what does this mean? Let me walk you through this. Here are the fundamentals of how you generate a lot of leads with webinars. The first thing is, the first strategy is learn to do webinars yourself. Ultimately. You know what? Let's start at the bottom here. Let's start at the bottom. This is one of the simplest ways, and then we'll kind of move up. What you can do, guys, is you can promote the MLSP webinars. You can promote other people's webinars. And what you want to do is you're going to need to get trained on how to promote webinars. I don't have time to get into that full training on this webinar. That training I provide in Webinar Sales Magic, course that's starting first week of January. You will become literally an expert at generating webinars. You'll become an expert at doing webinars. I'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, you will literally be able to generate 50, 60, 100 leads for your webinars every single time you want to promote, and then scale it up from there. Very, very easily. Now what you can do is you can literally, MLSP does multiple live trainings every week. All you need to do is this. Suppose there's a training happening on how to generate leads from Facebook. Suppose there's an MLSP webinar on how to generate leads from Facebook, and let's say it's happening next week. Now next week is a holiday week, so it's really not happening next week, but let's assume that it was. Suppose you're sitting there at home and you realize there is a webinar happening next week that you can promote. So well, here's what you do. You promote the webinar using the strategies. You promote that webinar using the strategies I teach in the course. How to promote on Facebook, how to write emails to your list. And what you want to do, if you have a list, what you want to do is, particularly if you have no list or you want to generate leads from the webinar, you get out there on social media and you promote the webinar. And if it's someone else's webinar, it's not your own, what you want to do is you want to promote a lead capture page that gets these people added straight to your list. So you put up a Facebook post that's like, learn to generate leads on Facebook, live webinar happening next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You've got some bullet points that detail what they'll learn on that webinar. You've got a call to action right in the Facebook post itself, meaning you've got register here, you've got a link. So in other words, when you are out on Facebook, you add a status update. It's this kind of a thing. Now, obviously, we're not doing a webinar on Christmas Eve, but let's just assume, maybe it's March. Let's assume it was March. Live webinar next one. How to generate leads on even if you hate Facebook. What am I doing here? I'm getting this to stand out from all the other webinars on how to generate leads on Facebook. I get into this in my course. It'd be very cool to get your webinars to stand apart, to stand out. Always have an aggressive call to action. And then you have the link, and then you're going to have bullet points, and I teach how to do all this in the course. Now, a lot of these MLT webinars have swipe copy that you can just grab from the back office, etc. It's this kind of a thing, bullet point, and you want to reiterate that call to action. I would also upload a graphic that kind of grabs attention. It's this kind of a thing. Now, if this is your own webinar, what you want to do is have this link be your webinar registration page. And have that registration page configured to automatically add leads straight to your autoresponder. And I'll get into the mechanics, how to do that in more detail in the course. But the bottom line is you need to be using a webinar platform that can accommodate that functionality. That functionality of adding your webinar registrant straight to your autoresponder. There's a webinar platform called Webinars on Air that you can use. That's the webinar platform that we are on right now. Webinars on Air has this functionality baked in. It will add every registrant to the autoresponder of your choice. You can also use GoToWebinar. I typically use GoToWebinar for my trainings. You can also do it with GoToWebinar and a tool called Lead Pages. Lead Pages. I'll write that down for you in a moment. Now, if this is not your webinar, what you want is you actually want to promote a lead capture page. Promote a lead capture page that you have created that says, learn to generate leads on Facebook, even if you hate Facebook. And then what you want to do is right after they've opted into your lead capture page, you want the next page that they see to be what's called a welcome page. A welcome page. A welcome page is the next page they see after they've gotten added to after they enter their name and email into the lead capture page. If you think about a webinar registration page, you enter your name and email, and then the next page is like, congratulations, you're registered. It's that kind of thing. That page that says, congratulations, you're registered, that's a welcome page. In this case, if it's someone else's webinar, you actually want to front end, you want to add on your own lead capture page, so you capture the lead first, and then have the welcome page just be the webinar registration page. So it's like this. Okay, if it's someone else's webinar, you want to send your traffic to a lead capture page where you capture the lead, and then have the next page that automatically shows up, the welcome page, have that page be the webinar registration page. So effectively, they end up kind of opting in twice. If it's your own webinar, here's what you want. It's going to look like this. And the webinar registration page itself is going to automatically add them to both the webinar These are very powerful strategies. Okay? These are very powerful strategies. Very, very powerful. The optimal strategy to get the most bang for your buck here is to start doing webinars using the really, really step-by-step, newbie-friendly, doesn't matter if you've never done a webinar in your life, doesn't matter if you're petrified to do a webinar, we'll get you there easily. The simplest way, the most effective way to do this is to promote your own webinars, guys. And literally just use my cookie cutter, newbie-friendly approach that I'll be going through on Webinar Sales Magic. My students usually start to close sales on their very first webinar. Never done a webinar in their life, and they're like, holy smokes, Steve. I just did a webinar, and I got 3 sales and made $900. Okay, this is typical. Have these registrants added automatically to your list, and aggressively promote your webinars using the strategies I teach in the course. If you're promoting someone else's webinar, you want to promote your webinar lead capture page with a headline that says, register for the webinar, and then the welcome pages they promote, the welcome page, the page that they get to right after they opt in, that's the webinar registration page. These are powerful strategies, very powerful. This is exactly what I did when I started in MLSP in 2009. I've been a member for 6 years, guys. I literally just promoted the MLSP webinars, and I stuck my lead capture page in front of the webinar page. So I captured the leads. I generated a lot of leads this way. This is, when you do it automatically like this, you're going to get even better results. Even better results. So powerful. So powerful. Oops. Get down here. By now, you see how important it is to start using webinars immediately. By now, you see how important it is to start using webinars immediately. The revenue results are dramatic. We're talking about 5 times as much money from the same level of traffic. We're talking about instantly generating leads, easily. Now, it was a lot of work to learn how to do all this, how to present. It was a lot of work to learn webinar marketing. Putting my first webinar presentation together, 150 slides, took me 8 weeks to create the presentation. I've moved 15,000 leads through my webinar funnels, tested and tracked everything. I've done live webinars to collectively well over 10,000 people. And I've tested, and perfected my tactics. What is different about my results versus the typical results is this. Typically, if somebody sends 100 visitors to a webinar registration page, they will get 20 or 30% of them to register for the webinar. Let's call it 30%. They get 30 webinar registrants. Out of those 30 registrants, they will typically get around 30% of those to attend the webinar. 30 registrants, 30% attendance is 9 people on the webinar. They will typically close between 6% and 8% of them into the sale, call it 7%. That is 0.63 sales. Now, in contrast, I will send the same 100 visitors to a webinar registration page. Instead of getting 30%, my webinar registration page gets 86% opt-in. I have tested and tracked this. It did not start out getting 86%. I started out getting about 40%. But I kept tweaking it and testing, tweaking it and testing. One of the things I learned in business school at MIT is how to quantify my results. And I've inched up that webinar registration page to now, traffic from my list converts at 86% on average. Not every webinar. Some of them are 70%, some of them are 75% webinar registration page opt-in rate. Some of them are like 91, 93. And when I average all of them, it's 86% opt-in on average on the registration page. So instead of getting 100 people to the registration page, getting 30 of them to register, getting 30% to attend, 9 people to attend, closing 7% of them and getting 0.63 sales, which would be typical, I will send 100 visitors to the webinar registration page. I will get 86 of them to register. I'll get like 50 or 60% attendance. That's like 50 attendees. I will close 15 to 25% of them. So call it 20% out of 50 attendees. That's 10 sales. 10 sales instead of 0.63 sales, guys. I'm getting results that are 15 times higher than normal. 15 times. Not because I'm some sort of a person from another planet, because I have meticulously tested how many emails to send, what days to send them, what to say in the emails. I get way better results than other marketers in terms of my metrics. This is why I get asked to do trainings. It's not because I do a lot of webinars. Any bozo can throw up a webinar page. It's about getting results. It would be very cool to get results that are monster. And what I'm most proud of for my course, guys, is that my students, I thought what was going to happen is they'd start doing webinars and they'd be getting like, instead of 30% registration, they'd be getting like 35%. I thought they'd be getting like slightly better than normal. They're getting like results that are similar to my results. I thought they'd get, 30% attendance. They're matching my 50 to 60% attendance ratios on webinars. I thought they would close, 8, 9%. They're closing like 15, 20% of the people on webinars because they're following my formula. And it doesn't matter if you've never done a webinar before. It doesn't matter if you're wondering if you can do this. You can do this. It would be very cool to get world-class results that are similar to my results the first time you do a webinar. That floored me. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of for my trainings, is that new marketers typically, not here, typically, the typical response that a new marketer gets when they use my webinar strategies is they get metrics that are similar to my metrics. And this astonished me, and it made me realize that what I'm teaching is applicable for anybody. I give you my email templates, I give you my webinar presentation templates. You literally just take my stuff, follow my training so you know how to do everything easily so you can create your own stuff. But it's as simple as taking my stuff and tweaking it up into your own, and the results people are getting are really, really significant. So here's what I have for you. Webinar Sales Magic. This course is going to start the first week in January. It is the most complete webinar training course in the industry. This is a 6-week course. Live webinar sessions with me. Starts the first week in January. Every session will be recorded in case you miss any of the trainings. I'm going to poll. MOSP and I, we are going to poll, send a survey out to all course customers to ask you which days of the week and whether you want daytime or evening training times, to figure out what's the training times that are going to work for the most of you. And whether or not you're on the live sessions, you'll get recordings. We'll put those recordings up fairly soon after the, very soon after the live training, like within days, so you can keep up. You're going to learn how to generate over $3,000 per webinar. You're going to learn how to sponsor an army with webinars. You're going to learn how to generate 11 to 44 leads per day or more with webinars. I go through all the nuts and bolts in much greater detail than I was able to go into today. This is obviously very, very high level. This is the most complete webinar training course in the industry. Module 1, let's walk through this. I've got some phenomenal bonuses I will share with you. We'll be here about another 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so tops. We'll tie a bow on this shortly, guys. Now, we've had a lot of people pile in. Here is why. Here's what you get in Module 1. I'm going to teach you how to craft an irresistible hook for your webinar that pulls in registrations and sales. Translation, you're going to learn how to get your webinars to stand out. Because it's a snore fest out there. How to generate leads on webinars. Hey, Sally, there's another webinar on how to generate leads from Facebook. Right? It's a snore fest out there. How to generate leads, how to generate leads with webinars is very unique. How to generate leads with Facebook is pretty common. Right? This is probably the only training in the industry, how to generate leads with webinars. But how to generate leads with Facebook, that's very common. So I teach you how to position it, how to tweak it up, how to generate leads from Facebook even if you hate Facebook. Or go in the opposite direction, how to generate leads from Facebook if you are addicted to Facebook. Right? So you can segment your audience. You can target the people who think Facebook is stupid, and there's quite a few people who think that. And then you can target the people who think Facebook's amazing. And there's a lot of people that think that, right? The idea is you got to get your stuff to stand out. I will show you how to craft an offer that will sell like hotcakes. How to add bonuses properly. There's a right way and a wrong way to add bonuses. You can add bonuses the wrong way and actually diminish the value proposition because it can come across the wrong way. Or you can, if you do this right, you can add bonuses to whatever you're selling so that people literally email you and they're like, can I get those? Is the offer still available? Those bonuses look great. You will sponsor people so easily into your opportunity. You'll be able to bundle bonuses for when they join your opportunity. You'll be able to add bonuses so that your closing ratios on your webinars are very, very high, and you'll get tons of exposure in the first place. It would be very cool if every webinar you promoted stood out like a sore thumb apart from everything else that's out there. That would be very, very cool, wouldn't it? This is what raises the water for everything in your webinar funnel. You're going to learn the ultimate webinar registration page formula, how to match my 86% conversion ratio from page visitor to webinar registrant. This is absurdly high. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to emulate this. I'm actually going to hand you the template as well. I'm going to teach you how to hit your registrants' hot buttons so strongly that they show up on your webinar. See, guys, you've got to get this. It's not about doing webinars. It's about getting people to register and attend in large numbers. Any schmuck can put up a webinar registration page and get 2 people to register. It's about getting 20 or 30 or 40 people to register when you have a tiny list and getting a huge turnout of those people on your webinar and then closing multiple sales. See, here's the thing, guys. You get 20 people to register for a webinar, 12 of them to attend, because those are the kind of metrics that you'll get when you use my strategies. You can get 2 sales from 12 people. 2 sales at $297 is $600 in commissions, even if you're a newbie. This is life-changing. This is what I did. I didn't have a big list when I started doing webinars. My back was against the wall. I needed to make money. That's why I started doing webinars. First webinar I did, I made $1,300, and I was like, holy smokes. It would take me months sometimes to make that kind of money. $1,300 in 90 minutes? I'm telling you guys, this will absolutely transform your business. I'm going to hand you on a silver platter how to get 86% conversion rate into your webinars in terms of registrants. I'm going to show you how to promote. What I didn't have time to get through today, because it was just high level today, is how to actually promote your webinars. What kind of emails to write to your list. How to promote on Facebook. I'm even going to have the #1 Facebook advertising expert in our industry train you privately how to place ads on Facebook. So even if you only have like $50 that you can spend on ads to start, I'll show you how to turn that into $100. So then you have $100 the next week, then $200 the next week, then $400, then $800, $1,600. So before you know it, you have a large advertising budget because you grew your advertising budget from profits, starting off very low risk, and you got trained by the best guy in the world how to promote your webinars on Facebook. We ain't playing around here with this course, guys. But what's amazing, what I love about it is it's totally geared towards newbies. Because nearly everybody's a newbie in this course, and my target audience is newbies. So I take you like by the hand. By the hand. And it's like literally a couple weeks in, people are like, holy smokes, I got my first webinar funnel set up. And people have fun with this. They have fun with this. The typical response is people start doing webinars and making money, and they're like, they get a little addicted. Like I am, right? When you do a webinar and make $3,000, you're like, holy smokes, can't wait to do my webinar next week. It would be awesome to make $3 grand from a webinar, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? I'm going to show you how to get huge turnout on your webinars, all the strategies that I use. Very, very straightforward, guys. This is not hard. You just need to know what to do. Which kind of emails to send. It literally comes down to sending a certain type of email in a certain way, that's written a certain way in a certain timing schedule, and you'll get a monster turnout. Monster. I mean, most people out there, they send really timid emails. They're like, we're starting in 2 hours, hope you can make it. There's an alternative I'll show you. It's very easy to do. That will be way more effective than that. See, that type of email doesn't stand out, does it? It's very similar to all the other emails people use for their webinars. Hope you can make it. Just a reminder, like these really like timid like reminder emails. I'm going to show you an alternative where you actually add in some verbiage about what they're going to learn on the webinar that changes the game. It's not any more difficult to write or send an email. It's just different. It's something that a newbie can do. It's just different. Right? It's not any more difficult for a little kid to tie their shoes improperly so they become untied after 10 seconds. It's not any more difficult for them to tie it properly once they know how. Right? There's a little moment there when their little hands can't work quite, don't quite have the coordination yet. But at a certain point, a little kid, you show them, and they're old enough, and they can just, one day they can just do it. Right? It's that kind of thing. Like riding a bike, kids think like it's going to be really hard, but gosh, there's that transition point. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about, when suddenly that kid's actually riding the bike, and it's like they're a pro. That's the experience that my students have in this course. It's like they go from being like, I don't know if I can ride the bike, to like very quickly they're like riding the bike. They're like, well, that's really not that hard. You're going to get the presentation template that closes like crazy, my 25-point webinar blueprint, so you can emulate a very, very high closing ratio, 20, 25% closing ratio. Guys, we're talking about 1 out of every 4 people that shows up on the webinar. When you get the best strategies on the planet on how to get people to register, you get one of the highest, maybe the highest converting webinar registration page, get people to register, use my strategies to get people to attend. It's very, very easy to close sales because it's step by step. It's cookie cutter. I'm literally going to teach you step by step my 25-point webinar closing blueprint so you understand how to structure your webinar presentation, so you know what to put in each slide, and you're going to get my webinar presentation, the actual PowerPoint slides that I use, so you can just tweak them up to your own. Finally, Module 6, the $10,000 hour, I'm going to teach you how to scale your webinars to 5 figures per webinar and beyond. Now, this is for the big thinkers out there. I'm going to show you how to track your metrics so you understand, and that's a fancy way of saying how to see how many people registered, how many people attend. It's not hard. Don't think the word metrics is some sort of scary word. It's not. It just means like, oh, okay, I had 100 people register and I got 58 of them to attend the webinar, therefore I got 58% attendance. Right? And you kind of keep track of that, and webinar to webinar, so the next webinar, if you get 65% attendance, you can see, well, wait a minute, what did I do differently? Or if it drops to 45%, you can say, well, what happened? What went wrong? Was I late sending an email? Did the email I send not get opened enough? You can start to unpack this. And so when you understand really what's going on from step to step in your webinar funnel, you can really tweak it up like I have. And this is how you take a webinar that's making $300 and you get it to like $1,000, and then you scale it to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Very, very, very powerful. This is kind of for big thinkers out there. What do people invest to learn how to present and do webinars? Dave Van Hughes, $15,000, 7-figure speaking empire. He is a trainer that trains people how to speak from the stage at live events like hotel meetings and sell from the stage. Now, people who are public speakers, who are professional speakers, or who are up-and-comers or people in the industry that want to sell from the stage at a hotel meeting, if they're making $2,000 or $3,000 every time they close from the stage, they pay Dave $15,000, they fly down to his office, and he teaches them step by step how to make like $10,000 every time they close from the stage and not $2,000 or $3,000. The reason people invest $15,000 to learn this is because it's a money skill, and they'll recoup that. You go from $2,000 selling from the stage to $10,000. You do that 2 presentations, you recoup the investment, and then it's pure profit thereafter. So people are willing to spend real money to learn how to close from the stage because it's a money skill. Here's a course called Teleseminar Secrets from Alex Van Dozian. That's Alex, $2,497. A teleseminar is a conference call. Before there were webinars, people sold with conference calls. Webinars are a relatively new technology of about the last 7 or 8 years or so. Alex's course, $2,497. Why do people spend $2,497 to learn how to close on conference calls? It's because it's a money skill. Again, if you're making a little money, you learn this skill set, boom, you're making thousands of dollars at every conference call. So typically people spend thousands of dollars to learn how to sell because it's so profitable. You recoup that investment almost instantly, and then you make like 10 or 20 times more money for the rest of your life as a result. I mean, it's a night and day difference. Here's a course for $1,997 from howtowebinar.com. Training and templates, $1,997. The course itself, their course, $997. Their templates, $1,497. Templates and the course, $1,997. So course itself, their course, $997. People invest between $997 and $15,000 for a sales presentation course. And it would be very reasonable to position my course in that price range. Now, I've got a ton of bonuses that I'm going to share with you in a moment. I believe the bonuses are just as valuable as the course. I'll get to those in a moment. If I position this at $1,997, that would be very reasonable. It would be within the strike zone, within this range here. Remember, this course and the templates was at $1,997. I'm going to give you my templates as well. I thought about positioning this for just leaders, for just like, let's just do it at $1,997. It'll predominantly be leaders at that investment point. And I really gave it a lot of thought and realized that honestly, I am more excited to make it available to a wider audience. I'm just more excited about that. My prototypical student is someone who's never done webinars before. And then separately, I've got leaders that come to me for consulting on their webinars. And that happens too. But most of my students are new marketers. So I decided, what if we positioned it at $997? MLSP offered an intensive training course a couple months ago called the Guru Code at $997. We had a ton of people make that investment. Position it at $997, we'll get a lot more people on board. Where I ultimately came out on this is I had a conversation with Brian, and where we came out was we feel that at $497, this is a phenomenal investment. Phenomenal. This is the most comprehensive, complete webinar marketing course in the industry. There's next to no webinar training out there. And the little training that's out there is simply, here's how you close sales on a webinar. Guys, 80% of the game is getting people to register and attend. Walking through how to position the webinar properly, how to get an 86% opt-in on your registration page, how to get 60% of those people to attend. No one teaches that except for me. So I really feel like it's attractive at this investment point. We've had a lot of people buy course at this point. Go to webinarsalesmagic.com, make that investment. Go to webinarsalesmagic.com. Let me hop over right now to the Hangout, and let's see. We'll just do the straight up page here. We'll do the straight up page here. This is the simplest way to do this for now. Go to webinarsalesmagic.com if you have not made that investment already. Let me show you the bonuses and what you're going to get. Let me show you the bonuses and what you're going to get when you hop over there. These bonuses alone I'm particularly proud of, and you'll understand why. When you hop over to this page, click this link. It's just a standard page that you fill out. Etc. And let me hop over here. Standard page, just walk through it. Click next page. Click next page. Just standard, you'll fill out your credit card. We have a 2-payment plan as well. Here's all the modules, guys. You can see a summary of what I went through, but let me get to one of the things I'm really most enthused about, beyond just the modules itself. This alone, like Brian and Todd, Brian Finale, Todd Schlomer, two of the co-founders of MLSP, they took a look at this and they were like, this course is so thorough, it's almost absurd. The course is going to start week of January 5th. We're going to announce the dates and times. We will survey you. We'll be sending out replays if you miss any live sessions. Okay, do not let, I've got tennis every Tuesday night. Do not let any kind of excuse like that get in your way. You'll get replays available very shortly after the live sessions. So bonuses, check this out, guys. First of all, I'm going to give you presentations, fill-in-the-blank webinar slides, and registration page template. You're going to get proven to convert webinar content, which is my webinar presentation templates. You're literally going to get the actual webinar presentations that I use, the PowerPoint files themselves that I use. You simply take my slides, tweak them up into your own presentation. This is going to save you weeks of time. The presentations that I'm going to be giving you as bonuses have generated literally tens and tens and tens, well over $100,000 in sales, guys. These are proven. I'm going to hand them to you on a silver platter. Not only that, you'll get the webinar registration page that I have used and tested. So you can emulate this 86% webinar registration. Honestly, I could sell these templates on a webinar straight up, the templates themselves. I'm also going to give you a swipe file of all the emails that I use to promote my webinars. So you can just take my emails and tweak them up into your own. This will save you a ton of time. If I did a webinar and I just sold the templates, I could easily do a webinar to sell my webinar presentation templates, the registration page, and my emails for $197. That's why I have $99 value for each. I mean, these are real values. We have a private customer-only community group where you can get in and ask questions. I will pop in there. So 24/7, you can throw questions in there. You'll get responses from other customers and students in the course. I will pop in there as well and be responding. I mean, this alone, if I just did like a private group that was like private access, this is easily $37 per month. It's ongoing. I'm giving it $99 value because you'll have access to this not just for 3 months, but in ongoing fashion. You'll get 30 days free subscription to Webinars on Air. This is a webinar platform you can use to get your webinar set up immediately. This webinar platform will automatically add all of your webinar registrants to your autoresponder as a lead. You can generate leads promoting your webinars with Webinars on Air. You're going to get a walkthrough of other webinar platform possibilities that you can consider. Talk about the pros and cons of each. You're going to get a training on Webinars on Air, a whole walkthrough from one of the founders of Webinars on Air. You're going to learn how to trick out your offers, how to create offers. See, guys, you've got to be selling things that you like and feel good about. And the way to do that is to start with great offers and bulk them out with bonuses. There's a right way and a wrong way to do this. You're going to learn how to take your opportunity and stack on some bonuses so it's really, really unique. You're going to learn how to craft offers. There's no use trying to sell stuff that isn't a great offer. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of what's called an irresistible offer. An irresistible offer is an offer that they would be foolish not to do, not to buy. Okay? This offer has been crafted. If you actually look at what I'm making available to you here, I teach you everything nuts and bolts, how to position your webinars, how to set up your registration pages and promote those. I give you all my templates. This is very complete. This is what an irresistible offer looks like, guys. When you've got everything, it's so thorough that they'd be a fool not to take it. You're going to learn everything that you must know about persuasion. Guys, selling is a process of persuading, building your brand, and creating a following with webinars. All these things will happen when you simply understand the basics of persuasion. And when you're promoting stuff you really love, what ends up happening is you ethically build an almost cult-like following. People who are just eager to buy your stuff. I mean, I've got customers who have bought my course multiple times. They got closed into a webinar on one presentation, and then they came back. Guys, I'm going to disable the chat for a moment here so we can tie a bow on this and stay focused on the final content here. We'll come back to that in a moment. I've got people that have bought my course on a webinar and then come back 6 months later, seen a webinar, and bought the course again. That is persuasion. When people who are like so moved by what you're doing with your webinars and on your webinars that they can't help but buy again, even though they bought 6 months prior. It's like they didn't even remember they bought it. And I've got some of my best customers like this. I've got some of my best customers that have literally bought my stuff multiple times. Great people, smart people. They simply got closed multiple times. There's nothing wrong with that. This is what happens when you really understand persuasion. I'm going to show you. This is one of my favorite bonuses, guys. I have asked Kurt Malley. Kurt Malley is the #1 go-to Facebook expert in the industry in terms of paid traffic. Kurt Malley runs an ad agency called Black Box Social Media. Black Box Social Media manages the Facebook advertising campaigns for a lot of marketing systems and top producers in this industry. Black Box Social Media, Kurt's ad agency, he manages all the paid Facebook traffic for MLSP. Think about that. The MLSP guys have a great reputation in the industry. They could go to anybody who manages Facebook ads and ask them to manage their stuff. They chose Kurt Malley to manage their Facebook ads. Kurt Malley's agency manages several $1 million per year in Facebook ads. I know Kurt personally. We met at an event about 5 years ago. Kurt lives here in Austin, Texas. I met up with Kurt. We had a meeting about a month ago. And I trained Kurt on his Facebook marketing, on his webinar marketing. He said, Steve, I'm promoting my webinars on Facebook, and I'm using your strategies to get people to register and attend, and I'm getting ridiculous closing ratios. I'm getting 50% of the people who register to my webinars to attend, and it's all thanks to you, Steve. 50% attendance from cold traffic from Facebook is unheard of. And I have a good relationship with Kurt. This guy manages over $500,000. He manages over $500,000 a month of Facebook advertising spend on behalf of some very, very prominent heavy hitters in the home business industry. This training alone, Kurt's going to show. He's going to talk you through how to start advertising on Facebook, so you can generate like 100 to 200 leads per day into your webinars if you want to, straight up on Facebook, and a profit. I cannot begin to express to you the value of this training with Kurt Malley. This guy is the real deal. Okay, I wish I could share with you his client list, because there are tons of names that you're familiar with. There are systems that you know of where Kurt manages all their Facebook traffic. Opportunities, like entire companies in the space that have approached him and have gotten Kurt to manage their Facebook ads. Kurt Malley charges $5,000 a month to his customers. That's on top of their ad spend. So if they're spending like $10,000 a month in Facebook ads, they pay Kurt's agency $5,000 a month for the privilege of having Kurt manage their Facebook ads. That's the level of client that he is managing, and he's going to train you guys on how to advertise on Facebook. And he's going to do it at a newbie level, even if you've never advertised on Facebook before in your life. If I did a webinar with Kurt, I mean, this is easily, guys, $149 value. I mean, I would sell this training easily at $149. You're going to get a bonus training with Brian Finale on how to write emails, how to write copy, professional copy. So all the emails that you write to promote your webinars, when you have a list, or if you have a list, how to write emails to promote to your list that really, really persuade people effectively to register for your webinars. You're going to get my training on that. You are going to get my emails on that. For that, you're going to get my emails that I use handed to you. And as a secondary, hear from another viewpoint trainer, you're going to get Brian Finale. Brian Finale is one of the most talented copywriters in the industry. Copy is words that sell. So copywriting is writing words that influence and persuade. He has a course called Copywriting Mastery. Brian Finale, his company has done over $25 million in sales, and 20 million of that have come from webinars, according to Brian. He's written more emails to promote webinars than just about anybody in the world in this industry. They're going to get a training from him. Very, very powerful. So here's what you get. Just to summarize, you'll learn how to craft an irresistible hook for your webinars so they stand out in Module 1. You'll get the ultimate webinar registration page formula in Module 2. So you understand how to get what is perhaps the highest conversion ratio of any webinar registration page on the planet to match that 86%. You'll learn how to promote your webinars, how to craft emails, how to promote on Facebook. Okay, I kind of did a very high level training on that here. You'll get much more details step by step. You will learn from Kurt Malley how to advertise on Facebook. You'll learn from Brian Finale and from me how to promote your webinars with email. You'll learn how to get people to attend. So you get 50 to 60% attendance on your webinars when everyone else gets like 20 or 30%. Okay, again, when you get 86% opt-in on your registration page instead of 30%, when you get 60% attendance instead of 30%, you end up with 50 people on your webinar instead of 9 people. When you learn how to close in Module 5 with a webinar presentation template that closes like crazy, those 10 people, you can get like 2 to 3 sales. The typical person isn't going to get even 1 sale because they don't have enough people on there and they're not closing as well. This is unprecedented. No one's ever taught this before in this level of depth, guys. Because I get like $3,000 when I do a webinar, $4,000. My record is $10,000 from a single webinar. 10 grand in 90 minutes, guys. You're really going to get my template handed to you. You will learn how to scale everything in Module 6 so you can earn $10,000 per webinar or more like I do. The bonus is you'll get templates for your webinars, for your emails. You will literally get my emails and my webinar presentations handed to you so you can just tweak them up. We'll save you like weeks and weeks and months of time. You get the private-only customer group, 30-day subscription to webinar platform. You'll get a complete training how to set up your first webinar. You'll learn how to craft an offer and how to structure bonuses properly. You will learn all about persuasion, the most marketable skill on the planet. You will learn how to promote your webinars with Facebook ads from the #1 Facebook advertiser in the world in our industry. You will also learn, and I'm not kidding by the way, if you understood the companies that he manages Facebook ads for, you would understand why I say that about him. That's not hype, that's the reality. You're going to learn how to craft emails to promote your webinars. And here's the thing, there's going to be a very heavy emphasis throughout all of this on what to do if you're a total newbie. Because I get it, guys. I know some of you might be afraid. Some of you might be wondering, you know, is this right for me? It is right for you. Absolutely, it's right for you. There's a ton of amazing feedback. I applied a lot of the principles that Steve teaches. I've got to tell you, I've seen webinar registrations go up by 40%. I've seen my sales go through the roof. That's Mark Harbert. Lisa Thompson, my first ever sales webinar, since taking Steve's training and applying his principles, on my first ever sales webinar, I wound up making 4 sales totaling $1,000. This is typical. This is very, very typical. Joe Sandy, 100% attendance, had a closing rate close to 35%. April Marie Tucker, it looks like there's some sort of error here with the video. Don't worry about that. You can just read the testimonials here. I'll talk to Brian. We'll get that squared away. Webinars have been the game changer for anyone struggling in their home business. Steve Jaffe is just the king of webinars. I was able to implement 2 of his many tactics in a short time, had my very first 5-figure launch. April Marie Tucker did a webinar and did 30 grand on a webinar using my strategies, guys. This is right for you. That's actually an older slide here. You don't have to stop doing other strategies. You don't have to spend a lot of time to get results. You don't need an existing product or service. You don't need to hire a staff. You don't need to be technical. You don't need any prior experience. I'll show you step by step how to do everything. So guys, we're going to tie a bow on this. Go to webinarsalesmagic.com. You will get an email confirming your purchase. You will get a survey. You will get a survey between now and the start of the course where we poll you and get a feel for whether or not you want to get trained during the evening or during the day, which day of the week works for you, all of that. I wish we were in the same room so I could give you a high five, those of you that are stepping up. This really comes down to, do you want to change your life for 2015 or not? Right? Are you just playing around or are you playing for keeps? Those of you that are playing for keeps, if you're here, obviously you want this. Look forward to seeing you guys on the course, guys. Make it a great rest of the week.